Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. Home sweet home. You wouldn't know this, but last night my husband and I took a trip to Mount Gretna, Pennsylvania, where we watched a concert in the I think it's the Mount Gretna Playhouse with Tuba Skinny. It's a New Orleans street band. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It's an outdoor venue. It has a roof, but it's an outdoor venue. And it was just so cool. And of course, we do love New Orleans music. We went to New Orleans during Mardi Gras one year. It was so much fun. It's the kind of thing, however, that you say, you're really glad you did it, but you'd never do it again. If we were to visit New Orleans again, we'd visit it a different time of year. But boy, oh boy, we were there the entire week. We took a 37-hour train down there. Oh my God. And we got there when the hour it started. Honest to God, the timing was perfect. We got there the hour it started, and we left after it ended, the day after the last day. And so we have an appreciation for, the New Orleans style music. Well, we always did. That's where we went down. But at any rate, it was a hoot and a holler. It's probably the wrong term to use. And then this morning, on our way, because we slept over, we got a room. We stayed at a Marriott or something like that. And then for breakfast, we went to Lebanon, Pennsylvania at Mel's Diner. And it was it was such a charming town. Every time we go someplace, we say, oh, I could live here. But because it was remote, it's off, I guess they don't think it's remote, but it kind of is by our standards. We live in New Jersey, But it was great. And we had a good breakfast, and one of the, I don't know if it was a server or the person who was running it, the manager, just asked us how we were doing. And we said, are you Mel? And sadly, Mel died like 2 weeks earlier. It was so sad. So our condolences to anyone who might be from that area and knows Mel from Mel's Diner. It was so sad to hear. And Mel was a woman. Mel was a woman. Okay, what's today's video about? Well, a few days ago, I watched a video by Simon over at Hermit's Cave. And I was interested because he had the most recent publication of the Philosophical Research Society's Knapp Hall publication. Now, I have one. I got a number of years. I don't know how long ago I got. What's the date on this, on the book? Well, it's this version. It comes in this blue box. I think periodically they just do a new publication to keep it, I guess, current. The booklet says it was published in the second printing 2020. So I presume my deck is from 2020. And so if you want to see what Simon has in contrast to what I have, he has the most recent publication. And I believe the box and the backs of the cards and the size of the cards, everything about the version or the publication that Simon has is authentic to the original publication. So if you're interested in that, after you see my video, go check out Simon's video on that, on the, I don't know if he calls it the Knapp Hall. I think he called it the Knapp Hall. His video, I think, is called the Knapp Hall Tarot. But it's also could be known as the Philosophical Research Society Tarot deck, Knapp Hall. But anyway, seeing that deck, reminded me that I had it, and it's buried, in my decks. And then, of course, the pattern of the pips reminded me of other decks that I have. A lot of times I'll buy a deck, especially if it's an occultist deck. I'll buy decks because I want them in my collection. I want to reference them. I want to look at them. I want to study them. And if they're for me, I'll use them. And if, if they're a little too complicated for me, I put them aside. Maybe I just don't tend to use them. And this is something, sometimes I think we're intimidated, just like with that whole astrology thing that I did a few videos on astrology, right? We think maybe we're not up to par, or we're not, sophisticated enough to use a tarot deck, and then you put it aside, when in reality, maybe that's not the case, right? It's just, I belong to the school of thought of keep it simple, stupid, right? You know what I mean? Like, why overcomplicate something? And if you understand how something works and it speaks to you, then that's how you do it. However, some of these decks are just so beautiful, the ones that I'm going to compare it to. And I hate having them and not using them. And I think I'm going to give myself permission to use these decks despite not being a proficient person in the agendas, like the Kabbalistic and the Hebrew letters and all that. Now, I'm going to flip the camera and we'll get started. So from left to right, and I think I have them in the chronological order of when the decks first appeared, right? They were first created, the first publications. We have the Oud Picard, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, a tarot deck in 1908. So we have his box, we have a little booklet, and we have the beautiful deck. The second one is the Manly Hall, J. Augustus Knapp deck, which, let's see, is there a date? 1926, I think, when it originally came out. Something like that, sometime in the 20s. I should have had it. I should have looked it up before I started. Let's just say from the mid-20s, okay? And then we have the Esoteric Gran Esoterico. This one's published by Fournier. I love this deck. I just love this deck. And then we have the Crystal Tarot, which I have two versions of. I have the original deck that I purchased, which I just couldn't with the borders. It just was like, made me crazy. So what I did was the only deck I've ever given a borderectomy to. And then while I was at it, I figured, what the heck? I edged it with green. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show it in its full size because it's more in keeping with the other decks that I'm comparing it to. And I do want to mention, though, I think it really is awesome when it's a petite size. And this is deceptively, because it's optics, right? Deceptively looks so much bigger, right? It looks like the card is like so big, but when you really superimpose it, I mean, all I did was cut this out. So it's really exactly the right size. But they have this additional thing on the top. It just made me crazy, so I just couldn't deal with it. But at any rate, it's neither here nor there. So I'm just showing the pips. I'm not comparing the Triumph cards because it's the pips that really caught my attention when I saw what Simon was doing. Oh, he was showcasing this deck. So let's take a look. We see with the Oud Picard and the Tarot Esoterico, and then with the Crystal Tarot, which, let's see, who's the woman who created this? Well, I'll have to check later. You see, like, look at the similarity between the three. Obviously, the Suit of Swords is associated with water. So for those of us who associate cups with water, this is a change, right? Now, all you have to do is just switch it, right? And it's not hard to switch because they make it kind of idiot-proof, right? I mean, how do you miss that this is associated with water? You have the crustacean, you have the moon. You don't have the moon here, but you have the moon in these two. And then you have the water, right? We have water. And with the Manly Knapp deck, unless you would, I don't think they associate it with water. There's no association, I don't think, for any of them, with the exception of what these things might suggest to you, which is probably why I just never used it, because I just don't subscribe to, to this stuff. I guess this is an ankh with wings. Here with music, a flute with an eye. Here with they incorporate the ankh with a scale. So although the pattern of the swords is the same for the pips across the board, I'm not sure what they're getting at with up here, and that's why I just never use the deck. So let's take a look at. So I think it's interesting that all of them have the sword facing down. The point of the sword is down. Have it in the wrong order, I apologize. So that's interesting, right? Now with the isn't this, look at that, isn't that gorgeous? Now we have like a lightning bolt, we have a sword facing up, a sword facing down. Here we have the cross. Here we have a sword facing up, a sword facing down. Again, the association with water. Sword up, sword down. So far the Knapp Hall deck doesn't really connect so much yet with the pattern. But then when we get to 3, it kind of does. Where we have the triangular shape. And again, with these other decks, they make it idiot proof. You can't forget that swords is associated with water. So you can use it, just, apply the 3 of swords to how maybe you would see the 3 of cups. I think the Knapp Hall, I think this probably is air. I think, I don't know. Then look at this. Here we have the 4, right? So we have them jabbing in, and then we have this, which I'm sure means something. The disappointing thing is that when we look in the booklet of each of these books, each of these decks, we don't really get any information on what the symbols are. So you have to go down another rabbit hole. So here they're like kind of on a diagonal. Here they're more like a compass. Here they're on a diagonal. And then here we have a square, which I thought that these other ones were on too. So my memory really tricked me. Because one of the reasons that I pulled all these decks out to compare was because I thought the square for the swords was the same as these others, but it's not. And they do vary. What they all have in common is the star for the 5. We have the eye there, the eye here. And the eye there. So I think the Picard, the El Gran Tarot Esoterico, and the Crystal Tarot have more in common so far than we have with the Knapp Hall. Then we have 6, which is very interesting. I mean, come on, the Picard deck is gorgeous. It really is. And you know what? Despite whatever esoteric meanings that are applied, it's not like necessarily in your face, like some of the other decks might be. And neither is this really. So I don't think I'm going to allow them, I don't think I'm going to allow myself to feel intimidated from using the decks, because I don't subscribe to the esoteric stuff. I mean, I know what the cards mean. And although I may be missing out on some of their references, if the references are enforcing the meaning of the card, and I already know the meaning of the card, then I'm kind kind of ahead of the game, you know what I'm saying? Now here we see across these three references, what's going on over here? Some kind of horned rack. I'm not really sure what that is. Oh, I guess that's a crustacean. Oh, duh, it's the crustacean. Okay, that's the crustacean. Then up here we have the horns of the ram. And then here we have the Ankh crisscross. So, you know, the reason I pulled all these cards out, all these decks out, was because I was thinking that the Manly Hall deck had the same configuration as these, but I'm wrong. Well, here, I guess in this case, it's kind of similar because we have the triangle and then we have the triangle. So I guess it is. They just became more stylistic. And then we have the triangle above and the square below. And, you know, it makes sense to configure the swords that way. I mean, it really does. It makes total sense, you know, because you have two realms, 3 and 4. 4 is stability, 3 is, you know, growth. So 4 is the stability, right? I see 4 as a number of stability. I see 3 as the number of growing, of expansion, right? So we have 7 as a combination of those things. In the realm of water for these 3 particular. One thing that the deck that the new deck that's come out, and it's very expensive, and I can't justify. I don't have the money to purchase the $100 version that's out that has the telescopic box. I'm talking about the Knapp Hall deck from the Philosophical Research Society, and the back that they have in the new production is the same as the original. I think the production they have now, and I'm not even sure if it's available anymore, is as close as you can get to the original publication. With this, I don't know where this image came from. So here we are with 8. So with the Knapp Hall, we have 2 blocks of secure. You know, I see 8 as a number of stability, lack of chaos, total order. But here, it almost looks like with these others, that 8 is described kind of as cyclical. And if you think of, well, you know, in a way, if you think of if you go back and you think of justice as 8, right? Now, I'm not sure. Let me check and see what justice is with these decks. I'll be right back. Okay, at least with the Picard, the 8 is justice in this deck, okay? I'm guessing that it's the same with the others. I can't swear to it, but that's what I'm guessing. But when you think of 8, which is what I do, when I think of 8 and I relate it to the justice card, I see justice as a continuum, because when there's justice, there's lack of chaos. You know, when you want lack of chaos in your society, which is why you want justice, because justice assures a lack of chaos. So I can see like a cycle in a way. It's not the lemniscate, you know, it's not the lemniscate or the shape of the number 8, right? It's not the lemniscate, but a cycle in a way shows a continuum. So I can understand the 8 in that kind of configuration, but I can also understand the very orderly nature of 2 4s. Now here we have 9, and it's described here as 5 and 4. So we have stability and again a type of growth. Here we have 3 groups of 3. So the Knapp Hall deck really isn't as similar to the Udis Picard that I thought it was. You know, I kind of associated this deck with the others in my head. but there are differences, for sure. And then this one, we have this one is less orderly than these others. This one is more abstract, where we have 5, not quite in the star configuration here. We have the star and the star and the stability of the 4. And then here we have 3 groups of 3. So the Gran Tarot Esoterico and the Picard are more similar. Okay, here we have 10. 10 swords. Oh, this deck is gorgeous. Here's the backs. I have showcased all these decks when I got them. So if you want to see a showcasing of each one of these, I have them. You may have to dig deep. I have over 700 videos at this stage, but so we have 6 swords. Excuse me, 10 swords, I apologize. 10 swords. Again, a cycle. Here, they're laid out. Here, they're in another cycle, as they are here. So it's the height of the phases of the moon. I mean, we see the moon prominently in these three cards more than here. And we see it a cycle. So at the end of a cycle, maybe it's the end of a moon calendar, a passage of about a month. And it's perfect because, really I have no appreciation for this because really when you see tense, it's finality. Something's finished. Put a fork in it. It's done, right? So we get the idea of that. It's like a whole cycle has been completed. It's brilliant. I love it. This is a little more abstract, so it's not as meaningful to me, but these two capture it, and I love it. I love it. I love that one. And perhaps this represents that concept. I don't know. Okay, now we get to the court cards. Now, I have them in the order suit-wise and court positions, and just the way I do it. I think each one of these decks would have had like king to the valet, and they might have had a different order of their suits as well. I just do it the way I like to do it. So bear that in mind. I'm not like doing it according to their usual display. The Picard does call it the valet. I believe this is an S because I believe the intention here was slave. Now, and we see chains. I think on every one of the valet cards, we see chains. So there's like a indentured servitude, where, it wasn't like you were freely a valet. You were a slave. Now it became politically incorrect, I'm sure. So I think this card is seen more as like a servant. But do bear in mind, in the Knapp Hall deck, the servant or the valet, they're all chained. I think in every suit. Now we have the checkered board here. So they're like chess pieces, right? Very clever. And we have it here as well. So it's strategic, right? And when you think of, when you think of a chessboard and you think of the pawns, I think it's safe to associate the valet in this context, if you're looking at a chessboard, as pawns, right? So how were they used? And it really does add depth to an understanding of a card, to the understanding of a valet, how they were used. They could be messengers. They could be delivering messages. They could represent children. They could represent people who are subservient. Now here, I don't see water in this card. As a reminder, we do see water here, and here. It's more clearly described here than it is here, but I think you can, well, you have fish, okay. Okay, there's the water there. So I guess I'm barking up the wrong tree comparing the Knapp Hall deck to these decks, but it just goes to show in my head, how my memories can play tricks on you. So here we have the Knight, or the Warrior, as the Knapp Hall deck calls it. So we have the Chevalier of Swords. We have a Knight in water. Here he's not in water. I do see the association with Scorpio. And then we have the Hebrew letter, which we don't see in the Oud Picard. Of all these, when I got the Gran Esoterico, I was really attracted to it because I love the art. I thought the art was a lot of fun. But I guess I was turned off by all this other stuff that, that I don't pay attention to. But I think the Picard is not in your face about it, So here we have the Warrior. Here it doesn't have a letter or a name or anything, so but we understand that it's a knight. And again, we have a Knight in water. This is going to be a lot of fun. I just put them all in the same pile. I just hope I don't screw up when I put them away. Okay, so here we have the Queens, and we have, is that like what is that? Is that like for Cancer? No, I don't know what that is. And as I mentioned, the booklets don't tell us what those things are, what any of these are. So the Queen is of water. She's on a boat the shape of a moon, a crescent moon. As she is here, okay, it is Cancer, so we have the Cancer thing there. As she is here. So I guess it's safe to say that the Knapp Hall deck isn't really all that similar to these other decks. And I hope you don't mind that I'm just showing them all together. I really wanted to see. I wanted to put them together to see. So here we have the King. He's also on a crescent moon. He's got fish. This King is also on a crescent moon, as is this King. With fish. Now, as beautiful as this is, I like to know what I'm looking at, but however, if you're a kind of person who just loves to stare and get meditative, this is like a deck that I like to meditate on. When I pull it out and I look at it, I can get lost in the art, and especially, without all this other stuff around it. I do enjoy it. I do. But I do appreciate the simplicity of the El Gran Tarot Esoterico. And I appreciate the simplicity of this with its beauty. I think it's a beautiful deck. I'm going to use this deck. In fact, my next video may be using this deck. It took me 67 years to figure out that I should not decline using a tarot deck because I feel intimidated by it or because I feel like I'm not sophisticated enough. Screw that. Heck with it. I know what the cards mean, Now here again, cups now, remember, is not going to be water. But in every card, I think there's a reference to air, right? Well, maybe not here. Make a liar out of me. But we start out with a butterfly and another butterfly and birds. So it's hard to miss with the Ace of Cups that we have air. And here we have, the chalice of Christ, right? Isn't that interesting? A basket. I wish the booklet would have gotten into the basket. As a matter of fact, this booklet is the most disappointing of all of them, because this booklet almost treats the suits as though they're, almost treats it like swords as air, because it kind of gives the same. Who published this? Oh, it's Fournier. Yeah, it almost, this is kind of like the tarot booklet that they might have with any random tarot deck. It doesn't get into the art of this deck at all, which was a real disappointment. So we see the association with air for the three of them. They have the same, obviously the same system. I'm not quite sure I understand the basket, which I would have appreciated knowing. And I'm sure one of you is very aware of what that is. So if you're still here at 31 minutes, I'd appreciate it if you get to me on that. So we see the butterfly, I don't know, maybe it's just association with a picnic lunch or something. So here we have the twos. I don't see air in this. We see roses, sun and moon. We have a wreath here as well. And if we're going on the understanding that the Picard came first and then Gran Esoterico came second, and I don't know because the booklet doesn't tell me when this came out, but I'm thinking it maybe came out after the Picard, and then of course this one is the most recent. Whichever one of these came first, the other follows suit, so to speak. Now here we have Venus, so let's see what we have here. Do we have Venus here? No, we have an eye. Huh. We have the triangular shape of the three. We have a triangular shape, but it's inverted here. Oh, no, it's not. Excuse me, it's not. And, they kind of make it idiot-proof with all the butterflies, They want to make sure you remember that this is air. And this one gets a little, it's a little harder because it's, so abstract. In each one, they have what looks like an egg or a yolk. So it's like fertility. Ah, I get it. Fertility. This one doesn't have that. So we have a sense of fertility with the three, connecting it to the Empress. So is this Gemini here? Let's see what this one has. Now this one's what is that one? That one's Gemini. Oh, that's Gemini. It must be Gemini. This one's just a diamond. So we do have more or less a square too here, more or less a square, an orderly arrangement. Now these cups face in different directions, but it's the same. And then this one follows more closely the Oud Picard. And I don't necessarily see the symbol for Gemini here, unless it's here and I just don't see it, which is possible. We have an eagle. We have an eagle. We have the eagle, reminding us of air. And the egg has, so the egg has cracked and the eagle is emerging, which is interesting for a 4. The eagle is pecking the egg. Maybe this is a mother eagle pecking her egg to get the baby out. And this is an eagle within the egg. Well, for me, it's always fun to go back and take a look at decks and understand them better with clearer eyes. You know, I never picked up all this stuff before. Okay, so here we have a 5 in the shape of well, we have the star, we have an owl. We have 2 above and 3 underneath. And all the symbols of air, in case we miss it, we have dragonflies, we have owls, we have soaring birds. And we have all the elements here. It's just that this one's a little less easy for me to see. So this is 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here we have the configuration of 2 sets of 3, which I guess we do in these others as well. But here we have the configuration of 3 upside down in these and 3 upright, which can be interesting, you know, when you're doing a reading. It can be pretty interesting. I hope some of you are still hanging out at the 36-minute mark. This is probably going to go to an hour. So I know it's a long one, and most of you check out after about 12 minutes. So if you're still here, thanks. I appreciate it. And I hope you think it's worth your time. Here we have 7. Okay, so we have 2 groups, 3 and 4 of air. Interesting, we put the square there. 2 groups, 3 and 4. So it's a cool way to think of this number 7 is stability and growth. Actually, I just kind of learned a new application for the number 7 is stability and growth. I do see 7. I do associate 7 with the Chariot. So I do associate the growth in that arena, right? So, you know, for the suit of, well, this is cups, so it's not water, right? But for me, when I associate my cups, for example, with water, I would see the 7 as showing growth or advancement in that arena. So since this would be air, I would see it as, you know, growth in the area of communication. So we have something that it's based on, and then we have new growth. Okay, we have the stability of 8. Again, in the cyclical arrangement, for me, making sense. The light bulb went on in my head. If I think of it as the lemniscate or a continuum, that 8 is stability, and like the lemniscate, and like a cycle, right? It's like the 10, it's kind of like a cycle. Now look at this pattern here. Isn't that beautiful? So we have 8 cups embellished with the butterflies. Don't forget it's the suit of air, right? And we have it here, but I guess my reason for when I cut off all this stuff and I started, let's see if I can just grab one of these cards. Well, I'm not gonna be able to grab it in the order that it's in. I guess my reason for really not using it is that it's just kind of confusing, this one, just because the artwork, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely beautiful, but I like to be able to look at it at a glance and know what I'm looking at. I guess, to be honest, the one that I look at a glance and I can see what it is this one, but it doesn't have the sophisticated thought that these have. So there's that. That's just my opinion. Don't get mad at me. Here we have 9. So again, we have the stability, and then we have significant, it's not even just growth. We have something that's going to like shake things up a little bit. So the growth or the change is going to change the base that we've been under. Here we have, I have this upside down. So here, okay, here we have the 5 in a star, and the base is in the square. So we do have a square. Yeah, they are in a star configuration. It's just that the lines aren't connected. And then here, well, we don't have that here. Yes, we do. We have the square. It's just more abstract. It's just harder to see. And 10. So 10 is clearly a new cycle. Or the cycle is complete, however you want to see it. This is a little chaotic for me. That's interesting. The hands. And then here we have the Valet of Cups. Again, this youngster has chains, reminding us that it's servitude that's maybe not voluntary. And this one is not necessarily youthful. Again, with the flowers, pausing to smell the roses. We have, is that a woman? I think so. Interesting. Pause and smell the roses. In this one, we have a broken tree. And his chalice is covered. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. That is so interesting. So that's my boyfriend, and here he's got a covered chalice. Wow, I'm so glad I gave that one a second look. Okay, here we have the warrior or the knights. Traditionally on their horse. But here we can clearly understand that he's a knight. He's got his armor. He's associated with the castle. He's got his shield. He's got his sword. And we're getting a backward glance from this guy. That's very interesting. So this one you have to really kind of look at, you know. Which is great for meditation, you know, if you're just looking at it, you just want to like look at something with new eyes. And maybe sometimes if you look at something like this and you get an idea, you can apply it to other decks. It's not just necessarily the only way you can apply it is to this deck. So that's why I like to look at a lot of decks, because I make associations. And like here I'm comparing these cards to the Knapp Hall, thinking that they were so similar, and they're not, you know. But my mind remembered it similarly. I'm so glad I'm doing this video. So here we have the Queen, and we have Flame. Look at that. She's air, but that looks like flame to me. And then we have this shape. She's got a torch too. Look at that. But But in case we get confused with fire, we're reminded there's air. And then, of course, we have the birds. Is there flame here? No, she's just got her butterfly. And her eagles. Butterfly here, too. So this is a little confusing with the flame for air. And this has flame, too. The king. He's got flame. I'm not sure. It's like water coming out of his cup. This is supposed to be air. There's a butterfly on his staff. Yeah, so is that water coming from the chalice? It looks like water. Well, it's hard not to associate a chalice with water, I'll say that. But again, the staff for each of these kings has a butterfly, as does his. And there's water coming from the chalice. So it is a fountain in these three. I suppose it is a fountain. Unless I'm missing something. But it does appear to be pouring into water, so. Okay, now we have batons. Now batons, in case we have to figure it out, it's fire. So the aces, I think, pretty clearly let you know what the suit's going to be about. And I think here as well. Sunshine hot. Fire. And the staff has a globe and it has a cross. A bit more abstract. Gosh, this is so beautiful. Yep, I think I'm going to start using the Picard deck. Because I don't know why I didn't use it. I think I just felt like, you know, I wasn't sophisticated enough to figure it out, but it took me 67 years to realize, shucks, that's ridiculous. So here we have two. Oh, fire. So you just have to remember to just apply. Now, of course, if this is fire, which is what I associate batons with, then coins will be earth. So there's only two suits that you have to, if you apply water water to cups and swords to air, if you subscribe to that, then it's really not that hard because each card like reminds you what it is. So you have to be kind of obtuse not to catch on. You know what I'm saying? And because they, so you just have to just remember these things. That's all. So here we have three batons. We don't necessarily see fire here, but what do we have here that's reminding us? It's just a lot of flowers. In a way, it looks like earth. And then we have the caduceus. So we have a hound or some type of canine with the three. Interesting. I wish the booklets described. Now, do we have? Yeah, we have a canine up here as well. Huh. Let me check and see, because I'm curious about that. So the only one of these booklets that does give you a description of what you're looking at is the Knapp Hall, but it doesn't subscribe to what these other ones are going after, right? So if you want the Knapp Hall, and you're interested in just like a booklet, having a booklet that will give you a better insight into what you're looking at, then Knapp Hall does that with this one. But the other ones don't, as far as what the what the canine means, right? What the caduceus means. And it's in all three of these. So the canine and the caduceus is in all three. But not one of the booklets gives you a reference. So you'd have to go down a rabbit hole, which I will after this video is over. Okay, so here we have the stability of 4. And then we have a reference to a checkered background. We do have the stability of 4 here. Again, in case I missed it, there's a sphinx or some kind of cat. Is that a cat? Yeah, so we have a cat with a stability of 4. Now, unlike the other suits, I'm not getting hit over the head with fire here, which is interesting. Okay, I no sooner see that. I no sooner say that, and then we have a 5 that's literally on fire. Okay, so we have a star configuration with torches. Six is a perfect number. We have 2 triangles, one inverted, one upright. Now we have growth from the ground, 6, so it's not like 3 growth. Let me see, you know what, let me go back. Let's go back to the 3s of the Picard. Okay, so the growth, yeah, we do see growth coming from the ground. Okay, so we don't see fire, but we see growth with the number 3 and the dog or whatever. So I have to look up that dog thing. So here we have growth underneath, growth above, or what's going on above is connected to what's going on down below. We have bugs down here. Oh, this is great. So we have earth below and air above, but it's fire. Here we have 2 3s for 6. We have the sun. Okay, we have the sun nurturing growth. So the sun allows for growth. So that's a beautiful way to see it. So 6 is nurturing, or being able. 6 is a perfect number. I keep saying every time I see 6, it's a perfect number. So it's a number of just having what you need. You have what you need to be successful, to flourish. This is a bit abstract. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, so cool. And we have the same configuration. So there are instances where the configurations are the same. So I kind of did remember proper, but it's not consistent throughout. So here we have a similar thing. But we have, okay, so these are representing the elements, because we have, I guess, is that fire? Excuse me, we have water, earth, air, fire. Okay, I get it. So when I see this, I'll just have to remember that those are for the this is more simplified. Just to remember that it's referencing the elements. So we have the sun and we have the elements. Here we have another dog. So this one's different. We have a tree and we have a dog. We don't have the sun. Oh, look at this 8. Oh my gosh, I'm using this deck. And I'm so sorry I packed it away and just thought, it wasn't, I couldn't use it. Okay, so here we have fire and we have clouds. That is so cool. And it's a continuum, so it's 8, right? So we have the stability, but we have the reminder of 2 sets of 4. Wow, that's interesting. And here we have a set of 3 and 5, so it's quite different. Here we have a continuum. And we have, maybe that's the smoke. Maybe that's not clouds. This is smoke, okay. So it's good to compare decks, because what I misunderstood in this one became more clear in this one. So that's why it's advantageous to compare decks or watch videos that somebody does that. Okay, let's see what they have going on for the 8 here. So here, I don't know what's going on here. It's not a continuum. What I like about how 8 is represented in these 2 decks is that it is a continuum. But it's a continuum, but like you still have the 2 groups of 4 in this one. This one's brilliant. I love it because you have the 2 groups of 4, but you also have it in a continuum. So you have 2 groups of 4, right? This causes this. Oh man, I'm gonna love using this deck. I'm so glad Simon, I'm so happy that you showed this deck, because then it made me think of these other decks. And then when I put them all together to do a video, now it's making me realize how much I love this deck. Okay, so here we have the same configuration, but the stability is on the bottom here and the 5 is up top, but it's inverted here. So we have like a genie's lamp or a oil lamp on the bottom in the 4 with smoke. And then here, the stars ablaze. Oh, that really is so cool. Think of how that might affect reading, Not just thinking of it in terms of what 9 means, right? But if you see it in the pieces of stability and ascension. Or, matter and spirit. And then 10 is a cycle. Right? So we have a cycle. And we have 2 groups of 5. We have a cycle. And we have 2 groups of 5, which is a little bit different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which decks are you guys feeling? I'm feeling mostly this one. I do love the Gran Esoterico, but, I don't subscribe to this other stuff, so it's kind of means nothing to me. Okay, so here we have the valets again. Remember, this guy has changed some chains somewhere. We're going to see chains. I'm not sure where. Oh, make a liar out of me. Has he no chains? My goodness, I guess he does not have chains. So he is different. Maybe he's a servant and not a slave in this suit. Unless you guys see chains, but I don't see them. So he's digging. And he's stabbing the ground. There's a fire. So he's piercing the ground. There's fire there too. And I'm not really sure. He's just standing there with his thing. His scepter. I'm sorry. That didn't sound right. Okay, and now we have the warrior, or the chevalier, or the knight, right? So he is, fire, passion, for sure. We see the fire, passion here as well. Fire, passion. Let's see. And in an abstract way. But I have to think too hard to understand what's going on here. I like it being communicated to me quickly. And the queen. So we have an arrow underneath, or, okay, here it's not underneath. That's interesting. Now, I will say the Knapp Hall is very easy to read. Very easy, and I think it would be easy to use this deck. And I think it's a beautiful deck. It's beautiful in its simplicity. If you subscribe to the additional things, which, because I don't, see, the problem with using a deck that has more esoteric details rather than the visual, right, is that if somebody else that you're doing the reading for makes that connection, or they understand that, they're going to come back to you and correct you, or you know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't really need that grief. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wait, hold on. Picked up the wrong one. Now she has a checkered floor, whereas these, oh, she does too. Okay. She does, but these two do not. So another rabbit hole for me would be to find out what this arrow is suggesting for the Queen of Batons. And so the King of Beasts is a lion, so that makes sense. We have the King of Fire. King of Beasts, King of Fire. What is this, like a furnace or something? I'm not sure. And here we have the king with his beast. And a lot of torches. So all of these decks are beautiful. They really are. Oh, this is one monster pile I got to deal with over here. Oh my goodness, okay. Last suit, friends. Ace of denier, or coins. So here we have, I guess, the astrological wheel. And we have roots, So we have a connection between the astrological world and also the rooted world. You see it here, which is, I guess that's what the star represents. The star, or the, because this isn't really a pentagram, is it? It's a star. So it's like the astrological world, or the above our oxygen world, and then the rootedness of this world. Okay, so I figured it out good. The comparison of these two, what you don't catch in one, you catch in the other. Let's see what we have here. Again, it's very abstract. You see the sun, but you see a coin. You see plants. Two coins, earth. Again, earth, air. That's interesting. Earth, air. So it's a little different than just earth. So we have a split, right? What we don't see, what we do see. What we don't see, what we do see. Which is like moon, sun. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. Cool. Very cool. Well, I really do regret not pulling these cards out and looking at them better. I really do. But this is why. When you get an idea, if you see something on a video and then you get an idea and then like I got an idea from Simon's video, right? So I pulled out these, and now I'm having a whole new way of understanding with this deck in particular, these two decks in particular, because I pulled out this deck. Okay, so here we have 3. Again, what's underneath and what's above. So it's growth in the earth. Well, the growth of the earth allows for, like think of it like this. The well-being, nurturing well-being allows you to go to higher heights, right? And then we have, I guess that's, whatever that is. What is that? Is that Capricorn? Capricorn and Aries? No, Capricorn and Taurus. And Taurus, okay, so that's Taurus. And I don't grasp what that one is. It doesn't look like Capricorn. So I don't know. And then what is this, Mercury? I got to look at my cheat sheet. Pull out my cheat sheet. Yeah, that looks like Mercury, right? Yeah, that's Mercury. So we have Mercury and where's Capricorn? Capricorn here. Okay. But I don't know what the L is here. I'm not sure what the L is referencing. Unless I'm not seeing it the way it is. Yeah, the clarity of the understanding is not clear here, but it's crystal clear in these, for me anyway. So when you nurture your physical self, that's when you ascend, right? There's a lot going on here. We have what? What is this? Saturn or Jupiter? Let's see. That's Jupiter. You have Jupiter, you have a star, you have whatever's going on here. So we do have astrology. So I guess this must be the thing for Capricorn because I think it's the same L shape. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe this one will give us greater understanding, but it does not. Huh. So these look like bulbs that were pulled from the earth. I don't know. But we have, I guess that's Virgo. I'm not sure what that is. That could be Capricorn. And that could be Taurus. So again, is that the 4 elements? I'm not sure because I'm not sure what, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to speak because I don't know what I'm saying. So we have ants at the points of each end of the star. Very cool. I'll have to meditate on what the message is there, with what I can, how I can, associate my understanding. Six is a perfect number. So what I feel is that there's there's balance between one's physical and spiritual well-being. So we have a similar configuration again. 4-3, 4-3. So across the board. Up, make a liar out of me. Yep, across the board. And then we see stability below and growth above. I think all 3 of those show that. And I'm not going to talk about the 8s. I've spoken about them already quite a bit. So we don't quite have the continuum here that we see in these 2. Here we have the stability of 8 and 2 4s, reinforcing the stability. And this is more like a group of 3 and 5. So it's different. And these 2 are more in keeping. Cool. Again, 3 groups of 3 and 5. Excuse me, 4 and 5, I'm sorry. 5 and here's 4, but it's not. Oh no, here's 3 and then here's 5. So it's like 3 and 5 up here, I think. And then we have 5 and 4, so it's a little bit different. 10, cycle. But, in every one of these, you get the sense that there's earth involved, so you know that this is earth. But it's also of well-being, and we need nourishment to grow. So I do like how these two decks, the Picard and the Gran Esoterico, really do play off of one another. Okay, so here we have another. See, now this guy's attack. You know what? I'm betting you. I'm betting you the previous valet was also chained in some way. I just didn't catch it because this one's chained too, and this guy's actually imprisoned. So he is not having a good day. And this guy's kind of playing. He's having a much better day, as is this young man. Got some leisure time. They got some leisure time. The knights were the warriors. So we have something that means something. I'm not sure I know what that is. Let's see if it's made clear here. No, it's not. But if you understand what the Queen of Coins means, I think it's okay not to understand what that is. Because theoretically, it should reinforce the meaning of the card. And if you know what the meaning of the card is, you don't have to depend on that. That's my take on it anyway. Yeah, the Queen of Coin is flush. And the King. Look at him. King of the earth. He's got the world in his hand. This one says it all. I am going to start using the Picard deck. I am absolutely going to use it. I just love it. I am so happy that I created this video. Oh, very interesting. I have a new appreciation. I always thought this deck was pretty, but I kind of felt like, well, it's, I don't, I'm not an esoteric person, or I'm not an occultist kind of thing, but in the occultist, let me switch the camera a second, hold on. I guess I felt, because since I'm not like, occultist, I kind of felt like I don't want to look like I'm trying to pretend that I'm something I'm not. But I don't think I have to be. I like the deck, and I understand it. I don't understand everything on it, but I understand what it means, and I can apply it to my understanding of what the cards mean. So anyway, I'm going to have to go back and put all these cards back in their proper deck. I hope you enjoyed this video. 1 hour and 19. If you've been here that long, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and share me. And until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and be brave.